Righto, let's look at the final team of the A-League preview, Western Sydney Wanderers. And last season, they finished fourth, knocked out by victory in round one of finals. And, geez, they've lost some big players, but yes, they've brought in some as well. But I'm a bit interested to see where Western Sydney Wanderers land this year. They have got some good players to watch, but Chief's got some news on their three strikers from last year, which will move over to him. But I just want to touch base before that. Their crowds are still strong, 9,809 average crowd. Western Sydney Wanderers always put on some good entertainment there, and they've got a strong training base for the Wanderers. Where do you think their ins and outs will be, and what's that important stat you've got regarding their three strikers?
Yeah, it's actually four when you look at their top scorers from last season. So Nicholas Milanovic had 12, Bosidar Kraev had 8, Zach Sapsford had 8, and Marcus Antinson had 7. So all four of
35.
those,
Oof.
all four of those players have left the club. They did score the most goals per match throughout last season, but obviously a lot of those key players have left. So big opportunity for Alan Sturgis to fill that void with some of the players that he's brought in, but some big responsibility on those players as well. I think for last season, Sturgis only had the 1-year deal. So I felt all through that last season that he didn't really get the opportunity to build a squad. He was more looking at results, making sure that he got that extension on his contract. But now I believe he's got a 2-year deal. So it gives him a bit more time to build a squad, build a philosophy, build a playing style. And I think they have lost some big players, as mentioned, particularly up front. But I think they've recruited reasonably well. And they've also recruited some players that do have potential, but haven't shown it a lot in some previous clubs. So we'll see how a few of them get on. Let's talk about the ins. Costa Barbarouses had some couple of fantastic seasons at Wellington Phoenix. We'll see if he can keep up his goal scoring exploits. Steven Ugarkovic, he returns to the club from Melbourne City, so he'll provide plenty of steel in that midfield. Philip Kanka also comes in. Alu Kuol is a big one who I'm sure they'll be hoping that has a good goal return, but wasn't that prolific in his time at the Mariners. So we'll be hoping that they can get him the right service. Ruan Tongiat comes in at the back. And the last one is a massive one, Angus Thurgate. He really was the player that everyone was after once Western United were known to not be in the competition this season. So big signing, and I think I could see him and Ugarkovic probably in that midfield. They do, both of them offer plenty. So we'll see how Thurgate gets on in a different environment, but he's been very consistent across the A-League for many seasons now. Let's have a look at their outs. As I mentioned, a few of them already, but Milanovic has gone to Aberdeen. Marcus Antonson has already left. Jack Clisby, the left back, departs. Dean Belicanos is out. Jonte Wook, who was their central defender, came in with a lot of hype, but probably didn't live up to that expectation. Sega Harper also goes out. Zach Sapsford has gone to Dundee United. Alex Battleado barely played, but we're hoping he gets a lot more luck at the Newcastle Jets. Marcus Eunice, he was on loan last season anyway, came back briefly for the preseason, but has now gone to Brøndby. Oscar Priestman is a big miss, I think, from their midfield. He's gone to Motherwell. And Juan Mata didn't really play much, to be really honest. So probably not the biggest out in Alan Sturgis' eyes anyway. They've also made a couple of re-signings as well, but done a lot of business. But I think replacing those goals could be an issue for them this season.
Yeah, got some fringe Socceroos players in the past there. Borello, goes back, and Thomas. And then you talked about Angus Thurgate. What this could be his prime time years. 25 years of age, capped at junior level for Australia's under-20s. He did play 55 games for Western United, but prior to that, he was with the Jets for 116 games. So that's a lot of football for a 25-year-old, and I think he's primed for a big year. Look, if they didn't get him, I'd be seriously worried about Western Sydney Wanderers, and I don't know how high they can really go. I don't think they can reach the heights of last year, their fourth place. I think that's going to be a stretch. Considering those names that you read out and they've made all good. A lot of them have made all good moves. Milanovic to Aberdeen, and we've seen him with, had a great start to the year. Badalado's on fire, and obviously, yeah, Priestman's massive loss. Marta, we know, has gone to Victory. So it's how well they can replace them. They do look like they might be tough to break down. If I look at some of their matches that they played, I wasn't too impressed with them in the Hahn Cup either. Heidelberg smashed them 3-0. They had a friendly with Percy before that, lost 1-0, and beat Peninsula Power up there 3-0. So there was nothing that in pre-season that jumped out at me, and I think they will be on the edge of the finals, just missing out.
Let's look at some of the players to watch. We mentioned Angus Thurgay, big in from Western United, and yeah, I think he's going to be very influential for them this season. Anthony Pantazopoulos just recently stated that he turned down some offers to move overseas, feeling that he hasn't done enough, which is very mature for a young player to say. So definitely he'll be looking for a great season this season, and hopefully for his sake he gets that move in the off season. Olu Quoll mentioned before, interesting one coming across from the Mariners. I think on his day he can be really good. He's definitely going to fit the mold of a worker for Alan Stajic, so we'll see how that works out. Alex Bonatig, another one to keep an eye at, and Aiden Hammond, very promising young player as well. Their first 5 games, pretty tough start in my eyes. Melbourne City, then followed by Auckland, Macarthur, and then it gets a little bit easier playing Adelaide and the Mariners. But those first 3 straight out of the blocks, we'll see where the Wanderers are at that point.
Yep, I agree, and good luck to all Western Sydney Wanderers fans. I've tipped them to come 7th. I reckon they'll just miss the finals. Chief, where have you got them this year?
I've got them 8th, but I wouldn't be shocked if they sneak into the final. I think it's, as you said before, it's going to be really tight around that mark. So I could see them going on a run and making finals, but I've got them 8th.